Hey everybody, Adam here. Hope everyone's doing well. Felt like making a video today, so I thought I'd show you my acoustic fences and teach you how to build one for yourself so you can save some money. So I'm gonna show you my fences, explain how they work, and walk you through the steps of building one. So this is my best acoustic fence, made it out of Douglas fir. It's directly in front of my front door, so that when I'm in my house I don't have to deal with noise from my noisy neighbors on the other side of that scrap fence, which does nothing to reduce noise, maybe knocks like 1 decibel off if even. Yeah, the point of an acoustic fence is it's a tall privacy fence that also gives you some noise reduction. I don't want to oversell it. You can't soundproof with a fence, but you can knock some decibels off. And it works well enough that when I'm in my house, I'm not really bothered by noise from those neighbors over there. So I'll go around to the back side. That's the most important part, and show you what's going on over there. So if this was just a flat wooden fence, it would absorb some sound, but it would also reflect a lot of sound, and reflective sound is still audible. So it wouldn't be all that effective at reducing the noise. But those staggered cross beams, they provide gaps for the sound to get trapped. Excuse me, my hands are always so dirty. They provide gaps for sound to get trapped in between them and reverberate out. This makes it more effective at canceling the noise. So that's the general concept. Normally you would actually run those all the way down to the bottom, but I've got so much brush and other obstacles, it seemed a bit redundant. So I only went about halfway. Now I'll explain how to build it. It's so simple I can really just walk you through it with my voice. So I've got 10-foot pressure treated 4x4s. They're 2 feet in the ground, so they give me a total height of 8 feet. Across the front, I've just got horizontal 2x4s, 8 feet long, and I spaced the posts about just shy of 8 feet apart, about 7 feet 10 inches on center, so that my 8-foot boards would line up pretty evenly in the center of that post. And it's not perfect, but it's close enough. Then along the back side, I put up, this is 16 feet by the way, so kind of like 2 sections, and you could continue this pattern as, you know, indefinitely as long as you needed it to be. So in these 2 sections here, in between the center posts and the end posts, I put up 3 vertical battens, again just 2x4s, evenly spaced, and I ran those all the way down to the ground, so they're also adding a little bit of extra support to the fence. And then across them I hung up these staggered 2x4s, and these were really easy to space. I just used the 2x4, so there's about a 3.5-inch gap between each one. At the top, walk around here, you have to put post caps on your fence posts if you care about your fence, or else the posts are going to split. So considering that, I figured, well, if I need a post cap regardless, why don't I get one that has a light in it? These are copper plated solar powered LEDs, so effectively turning the fence posts into lamp posts. They're not super bright or anything, they're more just ornamental, but they're nice. They look cool at night, and they even look cool during the day. You can't see it from this angle, but the copper is so reflective. If you're from a distance, it looks like it looks like they're on. It looks like they're lit up. So yeah, and that's the construction. I mean, it's pretty simple. I use deck screws, and then there goes my buddy Mark. I use deck screws to hang the boards up, and when you're using, I guess I'm mentioning this because when you're working with pressure treated wood, there's certain screws you can use and certain screws you can't. So make sure you check the label on the box. Usually it will tell you if they're no good for pressure treated wood. And yeah, and then after that, oh, this is important to mention as well. I hung these boards fresh, so they were really tight together when I hung them. And then as they shrank, I got a little bit of a gap. It's actually good though to have that gap. It doesn't, you know, it's still effective at reducing noise. It doesn't ruin that capability. And you want just a tiny gap, because if you don't have a gap, they will expand when they get wet, and they can push against each other and butt each other off. And lastly, after they were up for about a week or two and dried out some more, I put a couple coats of spar urethane on them. So that's a polyurethane with UV inhibitors. Any finish that has spar on it, that's what it means. It means it has UV inhibitors. And in my climate, that's almost maybe more important than the water repelling benefit, because it doesn't rain here very often, but even as we're approaching winter, the sun is beating on this thing pretty good. Now I'll show you a little bit more simple, less expensive alternative. It's not as good at reducing noise, but it does help a bit. So I got two here. Similar concept as far as the design goes, with the 10-foot 4x4s, everything. Well, these are spaced a little closer than 710. They're probably more like 7 or 7.5. But yeah, just corrugated steel and 4x4s. The steel doesn't absorb sound at all. It's really highly reflective, so it's gonna bounce a lot of sound back, but you'll still hear it a bit. It's just not as effective as the wood, which actually absorbs a lot of sound. And yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty self-explanatory what I did here. I mean, I just hung them horizontally. I used self-tapping metal screws with washers, you know, run-of-the-mill stuff. And yeah, they also give me a lot of privacy from neighbors in front of us, and there's a road over there, and it just blocks all that out. And it does help reduce some of the neighbors' noise and the road noise. It's also important that when you build these fences, that you build them high. So the metal on these is probably at least 6'8", maybe a little higher, and the wood on this is about 7'1". If it's not tall enough to block, you have to block your line of sight from wherever the noise is coming from. So as you can see, you know, we can't see that road, we can't see the neighbor's house over here. If you don't block the line of sight from where the noise is coming from, it's really not going to do anything. So the taller the better when your point is to reduce noise. So yeah, those are my acoustic fences. Pretty simple stuff. If you have any questions, just leave a comment down below. I'm happy to answer, and I'll see everyone in the next video.